It's November 7th. It's in the title of the video. I don't think I need to do a lot of explaining here, but it is Iron Flame release day and I am so excited. I already got my copy. It got delivered about an hour ago, which was super exciting. I basically like stalked the delivery notifications to see when it arrived so I could pick it up immediately, because honestly, this is my only plan for the next few days. But I got Iron Flame, super excited to dive into it. But before I do that, I actually am going to read the extra 2 bonus chapters in Fourth Wing. So I did, you know what? If anyone told me that in 2023 I would be ordering a book, pre-ordering a book on Amazon when it was listed as unreleased Red Tower 2023 release with no idea what I was purchasing, I would have looked at them like I was crazy. But we did it. It was worth it. Super excited to go and see what the 2 chapters from another character's perspective are, dive into it a little bit. I'm also really happy I did not get the original Fourth Wing when it first came out. I read it on ebook and I listened to it. So super excited to have kind of both books now, because I love the series and, you know, we're just going to continue this. Yeah, so let's get into it. Okay, so I have been reading for a while now. I think I read for about 2-3 hours, and I am honestly not even that far in. Like, I flip the pages and it looks as if I've barely read anything of this entire book. But oh my god, it's so good so far. I was really interested in seeing how they were going to kind of like justify them, or how they were going to get back to the War College, and it's so intriguing and so interesting how they do it. We kind of get answers, we don't get answers about some things. Oh my god. There's Andarna. Like, my baby Andarna. Oh my god. I love it. I'm loving every minute of it. I also have the I think the audiobook is on Scribd, or Everand, which it's now called, as well as I also have the Kindle version of it, so I'll probably going to read some of it on my Kindle tonight. Oh my god. That's all I have to say. Just, oh my god. Like, what is going on? There's so much happening. I'm only like 80 pages in right now. I think it's like chapter 9, chapter 10, and so much has happened. And that's barely like made a dent in this entire book. I honestly am loving it so far. So I am at chapter 22 now. So much has happened since I last checked in with you guys, I think. There's so many good lines. Like, fuck Dane. We do not like Dane. And there's a line in here where they're literally like, fucking Dane. And it's like, oh, so good. There's this line with Tarn. Holy shit, Daddy Tarn is back. I just love that dragon. I don't know why. There's something about him. He just like asserts dominance in this section that's just like honestly the best thing ever. Someone dies in probably the most shocking death so far. I don't know, I'm only like, feels like I'm only 10% into this book. I don't know if that's the most shocking death in the entire book, but something happens and someone just like that, just dead. I literally was reading, like, lying in bed last night, and all of a sudden it was like, oh my god. Like, oh my god, they're dead. Just out of nowhere. It is wild. So many oh my god moments. I absolutely love it. The dynamics between the dragons are there now, and it's so much more. Like, you know, you hear about the Empyrean, and you hear about Taryn and his relationships with the other dragons and how they all go, and Taryn has a dragon who he's not really that fond of, and they're kind of all the time, and the whole Violet and Sigale and Xaden thing is so intriguing as well, and we don't get so many information, but we get so much information all at once, and I feel as if there's so many things that are kind of important and filing away in the back of my mind, which I really need to point out. Like, I was one of those people who was not shocked by the ending of Fourth Wing. The character that's revealed, I'm trying to do this really spoiler free, but the character that is revealed to be alive at the end of Fourth Wing, I remember thinking about like a third of the way through, like, he's alive. It just seemed a little bit too, there were hints of things that Xaden said and everything else that I was like, this character is alive. So there's instances kind of during this book right now where I'm like, I think we're getting information that's actually really important. And I know I do have heard that it ends on a cliffhanger, but I kind of question if the cliffhanger is actually going to be a cliffhanger at this point, because there's a couple different things that I'm like starting to suspect that I actually know. A big one for me right now is, I know I said like fuck Dane, and it's still like fuck Dane because he's an ass, but at the same time part of me is wondering if he's actually going to turn out to be kind of good at some point in this whole thing, and they're going to start working together. But, you know, loving it so far. Definitely have some more reading to do today. I, just like with the other one, just like with Fourth Wing, I am at this, just like with Fourth Wing, I am just like flying by the seat of my pants, holding on, can't put it down. I basically want to know at all times what happens. It's funny, I also have book club tonight, and I had to like power through my book club book because needed to read this today. That was the motivation. Like, it was, you're gonna finish this book club book really quickly so you could read my baby Iron Flame, because I'm loving it so much. Back to it. I am going to make some coffee. I'm gonna get back to reading my book. See you in a bit. The fuck? What? No. Someone's alive? Character killed in first book is now alive. What the fuck? What the fuck? No fucking way. Fucking tired. Oh my god. I knew it. Oh my god, I knew it. Oh my god. Oh my god. I knew it. I make no such promises. The low menacing threat weakens my knees. A second before a hand with a dagger reaches around Nora's throat, slicing without hesitation. She falls, a torrent of blood flowing from the gaping wound in her neck. I look up into the wrath of doom in the form of gold-flecked onyx eyes. Oh my god, Satan! Oh my god! I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. I called this. I called it. I said this is what was happening, and I knew it. I knew it with this character. I knew it. Oh my god. Oh my god. You of all people know the lengths I'll go to in order to protect her. Atos, did you decide to follow? Apparently, then fucking follow. Fuck. Okay, so I am halfway through the book. I just reached the beginning of part 2. So much happens in part 1. I am loving it so far, but I need to take a little bit of a sustenance break because I need to eat something and then basically get right back to reading. I might switch to the audiobook for a little bit while I read, but I might switch to the audiobook for a bit while I eat, but essentially I am obsessed with what is currently going on in this book. Like I said, trying to keep it spoiler free for now, but holy shit, part 1, just so much happens, so much happens. That's all I have to say, but we are loving it and it's so good. So yeah, time to eat. Food secure. I ordered pad thai because I need food, one, but also I'm going out tonight, so I really want to make sure that I have something like substantial in my body at some point today before I go out. So I got, like I said, I got pad thai. I also got this Vietnamese coffee, which I absolutely love. This thing is like so good. It's tasty. They don't really give much description about what is in it. They say like coffee, condensed milk, and spices, but so good. I absolutely love this. and it will keep me up because, like I said, I read late last night and then I also have to go out today, so need sustenance and food. And then beef pad thai, because I do feel as if I'm a little bit low on iron right now. But essentially, you know, I'm gonna keep this spoiler free as possible, but essentially I'm at this part where Violet and Xaden and the rest of the marked ones and all her friends are at Bezgayeth, and stuff is going on. We're finding out stuff about her family. There's a little bit more information about like her mother, Brennan, Mira. It's just like an huge information dump. I'm about 300 pages in right now. Absolutely loving it. Like, I feel like that's kind of the theme. Absolutely loving it. And the thing is, like, just like Fourth Wing, this book is not going to win a prize. Like, it's not a Giller Award winner. It's not going to win, like, international awards or acclaim or anything like that. But it is, like, a fun read. And honestly, I think the last time I was, like, so giddy for a book to come out and to just, like, absolutely read it nonstop all day was a Harry Potter book. So, and again, those aren't even like award-winning books either, but it's fun, and I just love it. Yeah, what more can I say? So I'm gonna eat my pad thai. I'm going to probably read while I eat my pad thai because that's where we're at. And we're gonna go from there. I am so close. I have just this much left, like just over 200 pages left in the book, but it is time to go to book club. I do have to say part 2 is significantly slower than part 1. Like, a lot happens in part 1. Part 2 is a lot of kind of other stuff, background stuff. It kind of drags a bit, but yeah, we are almost done. Time for book club. So I have about 150 pages left in Iron Flame. So the plan is to just do my skincare right now, getting ready to go to bed. So I will read for a little bit before I go to sleep. Maybe finish it because it's like only 100 pages, 120-ish, and then if not, I will finish it in the morning. Bye. I'm done. I have no words. So my initial thoughts on Iron Flame after finishing it is that I loved it. It is good. I would say, in fact, that it is a 4-star read for me. That being said, there were parts of it where I was very irritated reading it. And, you know, I rated Fourth Wing as a 4-star read for me. Iron Flame is very much on the same level. However, I think because it is a sequel and it's the second book in the series, we already know this world. I know all the characters. There's a lot for it to stand on. General, I really like finding out more about Violet and Xaden and what's going on there. I loved, we do get more about Brennan in this book as well. And kind of, we venture way outside of Bezgayeth as well. So I love that we get things happening throughout Navarre as well as the other countries surrounding it, which makes it a really interesting read. We're no longer just stuck in that like day-to-day life of Violet trying to survive and go through all these challenges and just become a writer. She, to a certain degree, is almost a writer because she has her dragon, she's riding it, and she also travels. Okay, I am editing this now, and I realized that a major point that I forgot to mention is that the prose in this sucks. The plot is good, the story is good, I enjoyed it from start to finish, but this is so difficult to follow at times, and I think it is because the book was rushed out so quickly. That there were times where I had to like reread a paragraph or reread a sentence just to figure out what was being said. And it wasn't because like big words or that I'm stupid. It's just like it literally, the sentence made no sense. So yeah, that's my main criticism. We kind of knew it was happening. Fourth Wing also is not like a brilliantly written book. It reads very much like fan fiction, and I think going into this I very much knew that it was just going to be a fun read, a lengthy but fun read. And also I never really had any expectations that Fourth Wing or Iron Flame really was going to be winning awards. Like, this is not an award-winning book. The writing can do a lot of work. It could use some editing. It could use some tightening up and help. But it is a fun story that doesn't really change my rating of it, but the writing itself is not great, and I just need to say it. Overall, really enjoyed it. I mean, this was my past 2 days just reading this book nonstop, and I wanted to continue reading it, which is a thing. Like, as much as I say like part 2 dragged, I was still interested in seeing what happens when you get into part 2. So, gonna get into a bit of spoilers here. So, if you do not want the story ruined for you, here's your fair warning. Going to talk about some characters, going to go a little bit more in depth on my thoughts there. So, if not, I have the timestamp down below for when it will be safe for you to return. Okay? Starting off the top, I do have to say that the introduction of the assembly in Eritrea was a lot. It happened in like the first 2 chapters of the book, and it was just like so much information so fast. And I do have to say, this graphic that was at the front of the book, like this Fourth Wing executive director, wing leader, and then like the differentiation of all the squads, this graphic here, I genuinely wish that they just like cut it. Like, this was not helpful for me. It would have been better to like a chart of people and who their dragons are, a chart of who all the assembly people are and what they're doing. Truly, any of that would have been better for me than that. I never once referred to it. It was just like, whatever. Second of all, I have to say, I love how they got back to Besgaius. I love the whole kind of like, we're going to go in stealthily under the cover of night, and then when they're reading the death roll, how they're just like, president accounted for. I think Xaden's line is like, well, this is awkward. Like, I'm right here. As they're reading the death toll. So that was kind of funny for me. A good chuckle right off the bat. I loved finding out more about Brennan and who he is and what he's doing in Eritrea. And then I just have to say, like, the flying back and forth of Violet and Xaden, because they are separated, because he's now a full-fledged writer and has a post, the flying to Samara and back that she was constantly doing was really interesting to me. I loved the scenes where she was like not there anymore, finding out a little bit more about the resistance and what they're doing and how exactly they are resisting. And the passing of notes, there's a lot of information that happens there, closely followed by just their breakout. And oh my god, Jack Barlow. Like, Jack Barlow coming back was a whole thing. Like, I did not see that coming. I was like, wait a minute, like, what do you mean he's alive? So that was a bit shocking for me. I do have to say, I believe it was Nadine who dies very early on. That was wild to me. I was not expecting Nadine to just die. I remember I was lying in bed, I was reading this book, everything's going fine, they're sparring, and then someone's like, hey, oh, you're Violet Sorrengail? And she's all, I could just see it, she's just joking, like, yeah, look at my purple here, and then just dead. Like, what? And I was like, okay, we're just, forgot about this, forgot that people can literally just die in this story. Jack Barlow coming back was kind of just weird / interesting. I didn't expect it to happen, so that was a bit of a shock for me. I just also really, and I understand why, like reading the whole thing now, I understand why he comes back and what the whole thing is. I just don't love it, if that makes sense. And to a certain degree, I actually don't love that he's still alive. I don't think they should have spared his life. The whole scene where Violet is in that interrogation room and Varos is just like going after her and Liam is there, is like Liam being her hallucination that brings her comfort, is so sad and so heartbreaking, but at the same time I love that he's still in the story. And just how she, for me, it's just like how she's sitting there and she just refuses to break, and then Xaden just comes in and is like, I'm gonna kill everyone in their path and just like get it done, is insane. Her killing him needed to happen. Dane was a wild card for me. And I think I said it earlier. I feel like I mentioned it kind of on camera, but I do remember having this moment while I was reading where I was like, Dane might actually not be bad, and having this feeling very early on that he was not actually going to be as horrible as much as we're like, fuck Dane, that he's actually not going to be bad. And sure enough, he has this like redemption arc couple hundred pages later where he's starting to kill this the executive commander and everything. So I think I really underestimated how great they were going to be. And then finally, the second half of the book, like I said, it drags. The Griffins, the Flyers. Kat is annoying. Like, I hate her. That girl is too much. Like, I'm just imagining someone, like, popping up outside your door, like, half naked. Just like, hey, let me get your man. She's so annoying. I love Violet coming into her own. And then I think probably one of the biggest things for me is just Andarna. Andarna being the 7th breed of dragon is really interesting, and I wish we got a little bit more about that. And I know we don't get more because it's not mentioned until like the end of book 2, essentially, that she is the 7th breed. But the thing is, for me, it was not a shock. I saw that coming through the entire book. Every time after Andarna goes into that like endless sleep, or the dreamless sleep that they have, it was, when she wakes up, it was kind of very obvious. Every time Violet talks about seeing Andarna, she mentions that she's like kind of black, but her scales are also kind of gray. Oh, she kind of looks like the grass around her. Oh, she also looks like blue like the sky. Like, she blends in. And I was just kind of like, this is a thing. Like, she's either this black dragon who has special powers, who can camouflage like a chameleon, or she's like another type of dragon who they haven't seen in years, who has a special power that she's like a chameleon. And sure enough, she's the 7th breed of dragon who is like a chameleon. And I just kind of, I knew it. I knew it in my gut that I was like, this is Andarna. She is a chameleon. She's a 7th breed. And sure enough, by the time it came around, I was like, of course. The thing is, like, very similar foreshadowing to how I felt about Brennan at the end of book 1. I just knew without a shadow of a doubt that Brennan was alive. I was one of my first thoughts reading it. So by the time I got to the cliffhanger, I was like, he's alive. I have to say also, like, and them needing Andarna to light the flame was also not a surprise to me. The ward's not working in Eritrea was also not a surprise to me. And I think it really does come from the fact that it says I can't even remember the full wording of it, but it does say something about how the breath of life from the 6 and the 1 joined to make the iron flame, or something kind of along those lines. And with that in mind, I'm like, okay, so they have the 6 and the 1, which is Andarna, make an iron flame. So it stood to a reason that when she just had the 6 dragons warding, using the ward stone, I was like, that's not enough. Like, it says 6 plus 1. What's the 1? Where's your 7? And then when they talk about an iron flame, I'm like, there's no flame. Like, I don't see a flame. It's just a stone and you feel something, but there's no actual flame. So I think there's just like a couple things that were kind of holes if you're kind of paying attention while you read. It's like, or thinking while you read, which I tend to do a lot of. There's a little bit of like holes kind of in the story. And then just the ending, the cliffhanger of Xaden becoming a Venin. I didn't see it coming, but at the same time, I also was not that surprised by it. Like, of course he does. Of course, he's power hungry, and I love Xaden, don't get me wrong, but it's like not a surprising thing for him to do, to be so, because he's so all in with Violet, and it's like, she must be safe. I'm not surprised that he would turn to this power that he knows is incorrect just to save her. Like, it's not surprising, but I'm like so disappointed in him, and I'm so intrigued by how it could go from here, because we know Violet has like such strong thoughts about Venin and what's wrong with them, and like she's always been against them. Based on like that final chapter from Xaden's point of view, I wonder if there's some way, like if there's something else he needs to do to, like if it's like a 2-step process, if that makes sense, to like fully becoming like a Venin. You know, like kind of like how in Twilight, like they have to, it's funny, that's the only reference I can think of, but I think in Twilight the vampires they get bitten and then they have to feed to kind of like seal the deal and be a full-fledged vampire. Like I kind of wonder if that's kind of like part of becoming a Venin. Like he did it once, but does he have to do something else to become a full-fledged kind of like vampire Venin? When he said that the Venin was waiting for him, or the sage was waiting for him to go up into the clouds, I did seriously think that maybe his father was not dead, or it was someone that he previously knew who is now the sage and not actually just like, you know, some minor thing. And then it's funny because now as I'm saying this, I'm thinking the sage just tell him, I told you once that you'd turn for love, and so you shall. Which makes me wonder, goes back to my thing, like, yeah, I think there is something he knows. Or I think the sage is someone he knows from a previous life. Okay, also, the dream. So Violet's recurring, like, nightmare through the series where she's envisioning talking to the sage. Are we supposed to believe that that is actually Xaden's dream? And then he goes and he becomes the Venin, because I thought that Violet would become a Venin. Honestly, like, I was like, she's going to be the one who turns. She almost does when she's, like, siphoning power to the ward stone and trying to, like, imbue it. She does talk about reaching into the ground and feeling the power in the ground. So I thought maybe she would be the one who becomes it. But I just, the Xaden thing, and then I wonder, is Xaden maybe, was Violet actually having the dream and Xaden was just seeing her dream and he took it as him who was the one who needed to do it? I don't know, it's all messed up. Yeah, the whole Violet, Zayden, Dream, Venom thing was shocking, but not at the end. And I wouldn't really call it a cliffhanger. It was also heavily foreshadowed throughout, but it was just kind of like, oh, okay, next book. And then General Sorrengail dying is just so heartbreaking. I I feel so deeply in it. She just shows up and she loves her children so much. Like when she sees Brennan, you can tell it just absolutely wrecks her. Like she is like, oh my god, he's alive. But then also the whole, when he doesn't come to Basgaius, she's also like, what's going on here? But at the beginning of chapter 65, that quote where it's like, most generals dream of dying in service to their kingdom. But you know me better than that, my love. When I fall, it will be for one reason only, to protect our children. A recovered unsent correspondence of General Lilith Sorrengail. And part of me is like, is this to her dad? Like, is this to Violet's dad? And it's just, she does die to protect her children, and it's just so sad. And the way she kind of forces Sloane into siphoning off of her, and she, what can only be described as like, goads her. Like, I am responsible for your father dying. I am responsible for your parents. I'm responsible for you being here. Like, I'm responsible for making sure that, you know, you cross this parapet and everything that's gone wrong. And it's just like, she goads her into doing it, and Sloane doesn't want to do it. It's just so sad, but so good. And I understand where it happens, and the way that Mira, Brennan, and Violet feel about it is also so heartbreaking. So that is essentially all my thoughts on Iron Flame. Like I said, I absolutely love this book. I mentioned it on Threads. It very much gave me kind of like a throwback to the Harry Potter books when they were first coming out, and, you know, waiting anxiously for them to be delivered day of and then reading it in a day. That very much was Iron Flame for me. I am so intrigued in what other people's thoughts and theories are, or what stood out to them. Were you surprised by things that were happening? So please let me know in the comments below, because I will be there talking about Iron Flame basically for as long as I possibly can. I probably will listen to it or do a reread in the next few weeks or days, just because, like I said, there's so much information that happens in this book. I am certain that I missed something, or someone's going to point something out and I'm going to be like, oh wait, that did, like, they didn't mention that. But essentially loved it. So until next time, have a good day.